JBN, we keep you informed. Teens charged with sacrilege after church burglarized. 2 teenagers have been slapped with charges of sacrilege following their arrest in connection with the theft of sound equipment from a church in Dyers, Hanover on Sunday, June 21. They are 19-year-old Joe Warren Watson, otherwise called Tuggy, and 18-year-old Marco Buchanan, otherwise called Messi. Reports are that about 2:30 p.m., church operators returned to the location and found that the culprits had entered through a window and stole 2 speaker boxes valued at approximately $74,000. The police were called and the teens were subsequently held with the suspected stolen equipment. They were charged following an interview. They are to appear in court soon. Motorists killed in St. James crash. 59-year-old Victor Henderson of Rainy Drive, St. James, died from injuries sustained in a motor vehicle collision on the Unity Hall main road in the parish on Tuesday, June 23. Reports from the Anchovy police are that about 9:30 p.m., Henderson was driving his Honda CR-V when he collided with a Toyota Yaris motor car. The police were summoned and Henderson was taken to hospital where he died. An investigation into the incident is ongoing. 2 held after guns seized on Spanish Town Road. A Glock 9mm pistol with a magazine containing 11 9mm rounds of ammunition was seized by the Hunts Bay Police during an operation on Ritchie Lane, Spanish Town Road, Kingston 11 yesterday. Reports from the Hunts Bay Police are that about 6 a.m., lawmen conducted an operation in the area when the firearm and ammunition were seized. 2 men were taken into custody in relation to the seizure. Their identities are being withheld pending further investigations. Family man murdered meters from his home more than a month after his murder. The family of O'Neill Douglas is still seeking answers. On May 21, Douglas, 45, was shot and killed minutes after leaving his wife and the children inside their home in Stony Hill, St. Andrew. According to the Corporate Communications Unit, at about 7:15 a.m., O'Neill Douglas was found slumped over a steering wheel with gunshot wounds to his upper body. He was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. Douglas left home to conduct business when his car broke down a few meters away from his house. It is believed that a car pulled up and men alighted and opened fire, fatally shooting Douglas inside his vehicle. Anika Murray, Douglas's sister, who is living overseas, said that the family is gutted. My mom, myself, and our immediate family reside in New York and unable to get down there right away because of the coronavirus. My mom is heartbroken and my family is in pieces, as we spoke to him the night before and he was fine. He had told us he finished washing the kids' clothes and cooking for them as he took care of them on the days his wife had to work, she said. His car was sprayed with bullets and he received 6 shots, including one in his ear and one in his neck. Maury described her older brother as a Christian and a family man. He worked hard to provide for his family, and someone took his life for no reason. His children and his wife are now left without the head of their household. We are desperate for answers and are searching for them, she said. I am praying we get the answers we deserve so one day we can smile again. The family learned of Douglas's death after they were called by his wife, who discovered him bleeding out around the steering wheel. His wife called my mom on WhatsApp. She heard the gunshots and people were calling to tell her that he was on the side of the road. She ran down to see that it was him. Then she called my mom, Murray added. The Stony Hill police are investigating. Trelawney police could make breakthrough soon in killing of reserve woman. The Trelawney police are expecting to make an early arrest in the brutal killing of 36-year-old unemployed Tamara Geddes, who was gunned down in the presence of her 10-year-old daughter at their home Saturday night. We have several persons of interest who we have started to interview and persons that we're trying to locate to interview. So there are persons of interest at this time, Superintendent Kirk Ricketts, commander of the Trelawney Police, said during a telephone interview yesterday. According to police reports, at about 8:30 p.m., Geddes was in her bedroom with her 10-year-old daughter when an intruder armed with a handgun entered through an open door. The police say the armed intruder demanded money and cell phones and was given cash and 2 cell phones. but the 36-year-old mother was shot and killed after she resisted the gunman's demand for sex, the police reported. The daughter, who was not physically harmed, is now in the care of family members. Lecturer at the University of the West Indies and clinical psychologist Georgia Rose underscored the importance of the adults around the young girl to be aware of how she's coping with the trauma associated with the gruesome death of her mother. It's just going to require that the adults in her life are very aware so that they are able to identify if there's a marked shift in her behavior, her appetite, her sleep pattern, her play pattern, her communication pattern, how she engages with other people. If those things don't change, then for the most part, we may say she's coping adequately, Rose said. She may benefit from professional help to help her process how she feels about what took place. But what I always find with children is if they have supportive relatives, they are more likely to cope in a healthy way with the impact of the tragedy. What we want to promote is healthy coping, that she comes to a place where she understands what happened and understands how she feels about what happened. The psychologist also explained that trauma may or may not have any bearing on the child's academic performance. Exposure to trauma can affect academic performance, but it doesn't mean it will, but it can. Many children have experienced trauma and have gone on to do well academically, and there are a number of things behind that. Sometimes just who the child is by nature and also because of the support that they have, Rose argued. If she comes from a supportive school community, I would expect that her teachers will provide the necessary support when she returns to school in September. It is not a one-size-fits-all, so we can't predict and preempt how the child will be affected or how she will respond and how she will be affected. The 10-year-old girl has received counseling from the Child Development Agency, CDA. One cop still on the run for a double murder. An October 10, 2022 date has been set for the trial of a police officer who has been charged for the shooting deaths of a father and son in Spanish Town, St. Catherine. The revelation came on Tuesday from Director of Public Prosecutions DPP Paula Llewellyn after human rights lobby Jamaicans for Justice JFJ chastised her office a day earlier over the handling of the case and several others involving the police. JFJ lamented what it said was a 13-year wait for justice in the matter. But in responding, the DPP outlined that on July 19, 2019, a special coroner prepared a warrant for the apprehension of police officers Malika Reed and Omar Simmons for the shooting deaths of Winston Malcolm and his son of the same name on December 21, 2007. Llewellyn said that on July 30, 2019, the Bureau of Special Investigations executed the warrant and that Reed was brought into custody and placed before the Home Circuit Court. Omar Simmons was not located and is still at large, the DPP said. Llewellyn said that on the same date she preferred a voluntary bill of indictment charging Reed with 2 counts of murder. Since then, Reed's case has been before the Home Circuit Court for a plea and case management hearing as mandated by the court, as to ensure the file is completed and that the ODPP has satisfied its disclosure obligations to the defense, she said. Human rights advocate and attorney Harold Malcolm, whose brother and nephew are the victims, said that the case was being dragged along in the DPP's office and was causing more pain for the family. We have a system which the delay itself inflicted pain and hurt and frustration on us, Malcolm, who cited witness absenteeism and judicial lethargy, said on Monday during a press briefing hosted by JFJ. The politicians and those who are in authority continue to fiddle while we burn. Malcolm argued that even with the additional resources in the office of the DPP, there's been no significant impact on the results. I don't see the difference in terms of how things move through the system, he said. Woman abducted and sexually assaulted. The St. Catherine South Police have launched an investigation into an alleged case of sexual assault and robbery with aggravation after an incident took place in Portmore last Tuesday. Reports are that a woman took a white Nissan motor car along Mollines Road with 2 men aboard, allegedly posing as a taxi operator and a passenger, intending to travel to Portmore via ferry route. It is alleged that the driver changed course and the men drove to a house in Portmore where they both subjected her to perform sexual activities at gunpoint. She was also stripped of an iPhone valued at $80,000 and $600 cash. The woman was allegedly abducted between the hours of 7 p.m. and 3:30 a.m. According to a representative of the Corporate Communications Unit, the matter was reported and is currently being investigated. Sissoka Center for the Investigation of Sexual Offenses and Child Abuse is currently investigating the circumstances surrounding that incident. So we can't give out any details in regards to the incident at this time, he said. Meanwhile, head of Sissoka, Superintendent Cheryl Burke, said once investigations are ongoing, information has to be withheld. I can't speak about this particular case or give details on active investigations, she said. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.